talk about repeating cycles. Hello, and welcome to the TA Suit Show. I am TA Suit. That is Suit with a Y and not an I. We are on episode 7. Episode 7 already. Almost there. Almost at 10 episodes. I'm feeling very proud of myself. Feeling mighty proud. This is a Let's Talk About It episode. Today's topic, we're going to talk about repeating cycles. And the reason why we're going to talk about repeating cycles is because it's constantly happening to me. So if it's constantly happening to me, I'm pretty sure it's also happening to you. Let's talk about what is the deal with going on in your life and constantly being bombarded with the same type of situations over and over. Why does that even happen? It's annoying, but what are we getting out of it? Let's talk about it, all right? All right, so let's just get into it. Let's start with quote number 1. Again, these quotes are usually from my books, and all the quotes should be in this book right here. Last book that I did, book 5. Very tiny book of very big quotes. If you go on my website, tasuit.com, remember that suit with a Y, not an I, you'll be able to find this book and how you can purchase yours today. Get it online, get on Amazon, get on Barnes & Noble, get on Lulu. A lot of websites you can get it on. So go on my website, figure out where to buy yours. That way you will have all the quotes from today's episode and any other episodes all in a very small compact book that will fit in your pocket. Quote number 1 goes like this. Repeating cycles, especially the negative ones, just means there's a lesson you haven't gotten yet. And whatever the lesson is, it's imperative to learn in order to become who you're meant to be in the next phase of your life. It isn't until you pass the test and get the lessons that the cycle finally ends. But in order for that to happen, you have to be willing to change something first. There's a lot to unpack in that quote. A lot to unpack, but it's very informative and it basically sums it all up. Repeating cycles. If you've been in a repeating cycle like me, here's your example. You ever just left a job, okay? You just left a job because it's like, I can't do it anymore. You go to the next job. It's very similar to the one you just left. Or you just get out of a relationship and you get into another relationship with a completely different person. They can look different, different background, different race, different city. However, they still have the same negative tendencies as the person you just broke up with. Repeating cycle. What about friendships, families? You get a new boss and they do the same thing. You just left this apartment because you had a crazy ass landlord. You go into the next building, guess what this landlord does? The same crazy ass shit. Maybe not the exact same, but they're just as crazy. And you start to wonder, do all these people know each other? Are they in cahoots? Are they all just out to get me? Or let's start thinking logically. Maybe it's happening for a reason. Reason why? It's a test. And not only is it a test, but you must not have passed the test the first time around. That's why the exact same thing is happening again and again in a different environment, different location, with different people, but the same thing is going on. You feel like you're stuck in a rut. You feel like you're doing the same shit over and over again. And Einstein said it best. It's one of my favorite quotes. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Now, if you go to my other book, this one right here, Reaching, I have a whole letter in here on tests. Okay? This is where you break down exactly what I'm saying right now. I'm just going to summarize it, but if you read the letter, it really does a pretty good job of summarizing it as well, but more detailed. But tests, we go through tests for a reason. It's just like in school. And I know some of you probably like, I don't want to hear about school right now. I graduated. It's over. It's in the past, Tiffany. Leave it there. Dang. Yeah, but life is a giant school. We're constantly learning, whether you know it or like it or not. You're constantly learning different lessons. And just like in school, and this is the example I use in the book. Let's say you take a test and you're doing your test, you fail it, and your instructor says, okay, you can do a remake. I'll do a redo. We'll give you a makeup test in about a week. In about a week, you can redo the test, do the makeup. Are you going to wait 7 days, a whole week, do the exact same test again using the exact same answers you used the first time around? No, you will not. Because if you do, guess what? You're probably going to end up failing again. This is the same thing with life. Would you keep repeating the same old cycles over and over and over again, thinking this time around, I'm going to keep the same mindset. I'm going to do the same behaviors. I'm going to stay in the same environment, around the same type of people. And this time, I'm not going to change anything, but it's going to work out this time. I just know it. Get out of your stubborn little ego and realize that that's not going to work. I've been there. I felt like for years, I have been stuck in a rut, constantly doing the same thing over and over. Depression, anxiety, kicking my ass, thinking that nothing is ever going to change or things will never get better. Boy, oh boy, was I wrong. Because if I was still stuck there, trust me, this whole channel would never even be happening. I wouldn't even be speaking to you right now because I'd be still too busy stuck in that downward spiral of a rut, thinking nothing was going to change, when in reality, it was just a test. I kept doing the exact same things over and over, the same type of jobs, befriending the same types of people, accepting the same type of negative behavior from other people without putting my foot down, setting boundaries, and letting people know what is and isn't acceptable in my life. And I finally realized when I started changing my mindset, when I changed the behavior, when I stopped working the same type of job environments, when I stopped letting people run over me and do pushover things and stop trying to please other people. Remember, I have that issue with people pleasing, but when I finally stopped doing that and I finally started doing some inner work and some inner healing, look what happened to me. I got out of my rut. And because I got out of my rut, and I can tell other people, you can get out of your rut too. Repeating cycles is just getting a lesson from a test. Maybe you didn't get it the first time around, but the Lord said, this is an important lesson for you to get. You're going to need to get it. And until you get it, I'm going to send you the same type of people, the same type of environments, the same type of jobs until you realize that you need to make a change. Something has to change from you. You can't put it on everybody else. Maybe they're not ready to change. Maybe they're not ever going to change. But just because they choose not to doesn't mean you have to choose not to. You can change. And you will. You will adapt. You will grow. You will mature. And you will learn with experience. We all eventually will. Even the stubborn ones. You eventually will. Or you'll be doomed to repeat the same cycles over and over and feel like you're going insane. Repeating cycles are just tests. Once you change your behavior, your mindset, your attitude, once something changes, you will notice that the results also change. And that's when you break that cycle. That's when you're out of the rut. That's when it stops repeating itself. And then you can use the lesson that you just learned. You're going to need that lesson. And you're going to apply that lesson to this next phase of life that you're going to go into. That's all repeating cycles are. That's it. It sounds a hell of a lot easier saying it than doing it. Because trust me, even though I got out of that particular rut, I still do find myself in other ruts of repeating cycles and patterns and over and over and over. And because I'm human, I forget that I gotta change something. Something needs to change. Maybe something needs to give. And maybe you have to do the same thing. Maybe you have to switch up your work environment. Maybe instead of, I want to live in an apartment with my family, maybe now you might want to upgrade to a home. Maybe that relationship isn't working right now because you're not telling that person that the things they're doing is not okay. And you're absolutely not going to stand for it anymore. And they have to change or you're going to walk. Something has to change from you. Change your location. Change your profession. Change your mindset. Change your attitude. It's a lot of times I got myself stuck in a lot of ruts because of my attitude. I was angry and pessimistic. And I kept thinking bad things are going to happen anyway. Well, how is good things supposed to happen, Tiffany? Bad things are constantly happening in your mind. If you keep thinking bad things are going to happen, guess what's going to happen? You're manifesting bad things. And I have to kind of tell this to myself and remind myself, well, maybe I got to start having a better outlook on life. It's not to say that life is going to be perfect and things are going to be rainbows and the sunshine all the time. That's not reality. But I don't have to come into every situation pessimistic and assuming things are going to fail. Things are going to be bad. I'm going to be stuck in another rut. Things aren't going to improve when they could. And they can. And they will. But I have to do something first on my behalf. Quote number 2 is getting into more if other people you notice around you are also repeating these cycles and maybe repeating these cycles in your life. What happens now? Quote number 2 is you can forgive, but do not forget. Forgetting is how you end up making the same old mistakes time and time again. I am an advocate of forgiveness. I've got no problem with that. As you can tell from my hat, I am a Cancer zodiac. And if anybody knows anything about the Cancer zodiacs, they know that we are very, very forgiving people. For the most part, can't speak for all of us, but we're caring people. We like to care for other people. We give people more than one chance to do the right thing. And we forgive you. Not once, not twice, not thrice. We give you like 5 or 6, sometimes 10 damn chances of forgiveness and acceptance. Come on back in here, get your hug. I forgive ya. You screwed up. Hey, we're all human. Until we finally get to the point where we're like, okay, yeah, you're not going to learn a lesson. You're not learning your lesson. Nothing's changing. I'm stressed. You're a headache. Yeah, let's just let this go. And then they realize, oh, Cancers aren't that sweet no more. Because when they're done, they're like, done. Like, they don't care anymore. They walk by you in the street, act like they never even knew you. Like, we do that sometimes. But, like I said, I'm all about forgiveness. Cancer's about forgiving. I'm a forgiving person. There's nothing wrong with forgiving somebody who done you wrong if they genuinely apologize and they're really genuinely sorry. However, I'm not going to forget that you wronged me. I'm an elephant, and an elephant doesn't forget. So, whatever you did in the past, I might not bring it up again to, poke you and remind you of the mistakes of your past. But it's still in my mind, and it's still lingering, and it's going to stay there. And if you mess up again, I'm going to remember the time where you also messed up and it was similar. And I might think, oh, you're repeating a cycle. You're repeating a pattern. I'm starting to see there's a pattern here with you lying or saying you're going to do something and not do it. I'm starting to see you got some little toxic traits or behaviors. Yeah, I forgive you. But I'm not going to forget. Because if you forget, they're going to just repeat the same thing over and over again, thinking it's okay because you accepted it. You forgave me, right? So maybe I can go, I go cheat again. Or lie. Maybe you forgave me for my drinking and I was acting ass and I was drinking, yeah. Maybe it's okay if I do it again. Because you already forgave me once, so do it again. I don't forget. I hold on to it. I don't use it against you. But if I notice there's a pattern, a repeating cycle of you doing this, remember, I'm the one that needs to start making a change. Baby, I need to tell you how I feel about your behavior. Maybe I need to walk away, cut you loose, because I realize you're not going to change regardless of how many times I've told you I have a problem with it. Maybe that's just not the type of coworkers I need to be around, or the type of boss I need to work for, or company in general. Maybe I don't need to live in this neighborhood with those type of neighbors. Maybe my kids don't need to go to that type of school to be surrounded with those type of children. Forgive. All about forgiveness. Don't forget, though. Don't forget and end up repeating the same thing, because like we said, insanity is real. You will end up going crazy trying to do the same thing over and over again, thinking different results, right? You changed. But did your actions show that you changed? That we'll see. All right? Quote number 3 is kind of along the same lines about other people. If they changed or not. You know, things like that. So, it goes like this. Not everything / everyone that returns into your life is meant to stay. Maybe it's a test of what you choose to do in the situation now. And other times, it returns to give you something, usually a valuable lesson, before exiting back out again. Learn with experience and use your intuition in such situations. Another big one. Now, if you are into zodiacs or anything like that, speaking of zodiac, if you're looking at what I'm wearing right now, remember, I'm a designer. I designed this. I don't just sell books. I sell clothes too. Go to TASuit.com. I've got like 9 e-commerce stores. Etsy, Redbubble, Bonfire, Amazon. Buy my clothing. Especially if you want like unique gifts. Zodiac clothing for yourself. Come on. Look at this. Just look at it. Not bad, right? Not bad. But go to TAC.com. Again, Suit with a Y, not an I. You'll see all the different products, the books, things like that. But the reason I brought that up is because I'm like, look, I'm a Cancer Zodiac. And if you're anybody who's like into astrology or anything like that, we're at the beginning of the year, 2023. We're finally here. But we're also in Mercury retrograde. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. It's fine. You can go your whole life not knowing what that is. But some people who are really into astrology and things like that say, you know, of course, when the planets do certain things, it changes you and your personality as well. And 2 things they always say about Mercury retrograde is don't do any like major business or anything, like sign contracts or make important business moves or anything during Mercury retrograde, because you could like end up making mistakes and things like that. It's not a good time for you. It's not a good time. It just kind of scrambles with everything. Your brain, you stumble on your words. Things aren't good during Mercury retrograde. But the second thing they always say about Mercury retrograde is people from your past can and will return into your life during that retrograde period. Now, I don't know if that's true of just during Mercury retrograde. I feel like they pop up anyways. Whether it's Mercury retrograde or not, people from your past gonna pop up anyways. That's just what they do. They sit there and regret and twiddle their little thumbs and realize, damn, Tiffany wasn't that bad. Hey, call her up, see what she's doing. See if I can message her. Wonder if she'll respond. People do that, okay? Some people from your past will, and they can and will come back. Remember, I'm Cancer, right? We're forgiving people until we just don't care anymore. And by that time, if you come your butt back, I might be like, yeah, guess who's left on red? Yeah, no, I don't care. You know, past is the past. I kind of like to leave it there. I kind of really like to leave it there. Because I'm too busy living in the present and moving forward. And if I stop talking to you, it was for a reason. So no matter how forgiving I am, sometimes I just let it go. Because not everybody that returns is meant to stay. You don't know that. But you kind of will. And you know how you'll know? Two things. First thing is you're going to use your intuition, which is your wisdom and your discernment, to fill this person out and see, are you just in here to lie again and talk a big game and say all these great words, but in reality, it's like, something's off. My intuition is saying, you haven't really changed yet. That's the first one. Second thing is this. Their actions versus their words. And I'm gonna do a whole video on that one too. Actions versus words, because they are different. And you got to make sure that you're not only using your wisdom and discernment, but how can you tell someone's really changed and they're here for the long haul and they're here to stay now, is by not just listening to their words and believing their words, but also paying attention to their actions. Is their behavior different now? It's one thing to make promises. I've changed. I made so much progress. I've done this, that, and the third. I'm healed myself. I'm healing. I'm doing so much better. I'm making money. I'm stable. I stopped all that drinking and smoking and partying. I don't want nobody else but you. They'll tell you a good game. I mean, people do. They'll tell you everything they know that you want to hear. And that's all fine and dandy. Maybe you're right. Maybe you really have changed. How am I going to know that? By paying attention to your actions. Because anybody can pretend to be good, and sweet, and nice, and on the straight and narrow path for a short period of time. But eventually, if you are lying, you will slip up and you will go back to your old ways. And once you go back to your old ways, that's when I'm like, yep, there it is. Your actions doesn't match up to your words. And that's why I was patient. And I took my time and I watched your behavior just to see how long are you going to keep up this charade. Is it a charade or is this really you? You will know. Because they're not just going to be nice and sweet for a couple weeks. They're going to continue to be nice and sweet. They're going to continue to show you that they want to be a part of your life and that their behavior has changed. And maybe the lesson was that, hey, maybe they needed to be away from you, so they can learn their lessons and heal and grow and mature and come back to you correctly. But you will not know that until they return and you can see their actions. So be patient. Watch. Use your wisdom and discernment. But do not just forgive and not forget. Pay attention. Moral of the story is this. Repeating cycles, whether it's in your life and it's you, somebody else. Just remember, these things are for a reason. It's creepy because I just noticed that green light just shut off. I'm not scared though. Battery died. Battery died. It's not a ghost. But the more story is, it's for a reason. These lessons, they're maturing you. You need them. You need them in your life. You need it because it's going to actually get you into the next phase of your life. And you're going to need it to make better and wiser, more mature decisions. That way you want to keep going through the same old rut. Feel like you're going insane. Feel like the same bad, negative stuff is going to keep happening over and over again when it doesn't have to. It's not true. You just got to get the lessons. Pay attention. There's lessons in all of this, okay? Whether you're repeating a cycle or somebody around you is repeating a cycle in your life, pay attention. Use your wisdom and discernment and realize that there's a lesson here. And the lesson usually always starts with change. Something, somebody has to change. Whether it's on your end or their end, but something has to change. But once you get the lesson, the cycle ends. And then you can move on to the next phase of your life and you're back to being happy yourself again. And then you're on to the next challenge. But that's life. You know, it's not always going to be perfect. But at least you won't be repeating the same old cycles, though. Just saying. All right? All right. I'll see you in the next one. Now, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or follow.